Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our final Zoom room, class live, whatever you may want to call it. I'm happy to be here with you once again, and I want to go ahead and get started. We started out with a few people on these Zoom rooms the first probably 2 or 3 weeks at least, and then it kind of dwindled down to unfortunately no one being able to make it. I understand that, so certainly no disparaging remarks meant for you guys. I know how busy you can be and different schedules, and everyone has a little bit different schedule with family and work and what have you. I've tried to accommodate some of those and move them around as best I could. But in any event, I want to go ahead tonight. It won't be a very long Zoom room. I just wanted to touch on the final stages of life and stages of dying and accepting death, and share a personal story that is very recent, very close and very personal to me, that really kind of exemplifies the stages of dying or going through the grieving process that we go through. Please do pay attention to the presentations and the videos that are offered for your benefit. Certainly they are wonderful. But one of the main things that anyone wants to talk about when you have a course in human development and you have a course that touches on the psychological aspects of death and dying, we talk about the stages of dying. There's a researcher that gets a lot of credit, and rightly so. She's put her footprint on the profession of psychology. She came up with these stages of grief, if you will. Here we're calling them stages of dying, but really they're stages of grief. When you go through losing someone that you love, a loved one. Typically don't like to check my phone when I'm in class, such as I am now, but just in case it would happen to be one of my students trying to log in, I want to make sure that, okay, let me see. All right, so here we go. So the stages of going through grief or going through losing someone, or this also applies if you have been diagnosed with a terminal illness. If you go to your doctor, hold on, I'm going to put everyone on hold for 1 second. Pardon me. So these, as I was just saying, if you have lost someone that you love, or if someone you know, or perhaps even yourself, gets diagnosed with a terminal illness, you go through these stages. Denial, anger, bargaining, and acceptance. That's usually the 4 stages that are talked about. We have added depression in our model here on the PowerPoint presentation, as you can see, as I have a screen share up, and that's certainly appropriate. There's nothing necessarily hard and fast about Kubler-Ross's 4 stages, which is the ones I mentioned. They're pretty much accepted, but there are other people who have written on this, and we've modified Kubler-Ross's stages of grief as well. When Kubler-Ross came out with her stages, they went in sequential order: denial, anger, bargaining, and acceptance. And not necessarily that she asserted that they were sequential and in that order, but it was kind of, that's what we had to go with, and people sort of went with that idea that they were sequential and in that order. Subsequently, we some years ago realized and pointed out that those are the stages, but they're not necessarily sequential. In other words, you may go through denial, and then you may go and you may be angry, and then you may revert back to denial. And then you may go and you may skip over anger and go to bargaining. And I'll explain a little bit more about these until finally the final thing is acceptance. And then once you have acceptance, for the most part, you're there to really be in acceptance. Now, there are times when you will accept your fate, as it were, and then you kind of slip back into bargaining again. There are cases where you are in a stage of acceptance, and that's it, and you've accepted the fate and accepted what's happened. But especially with a terminal illness where you're going through, it's not uncommon for your mind to slip back into these things. So I'll go through the stage. Denial means that, let's say, for instance, you have a diagnosis, or a loved one has a diagnosis of a terminal illness. Well, the first thing is you deny it. You say, oh, that can't be right. They must have made some mistake. They probably got my report or my loved one's report mixed up with someone else, or the test must be wrong. That's denial. That can't be right. And that it's a defense mechanism. It's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's how we survive. And then from denial, you can wait. This is right. This can't be okay. This isn't fair. That's not okay. I've lived a good life and I've done the right things and I go to church. So how can this possibly be? This isn't fair. And that's the anger stage. And then you go into, well, maybe if I lived a better life, or maybe if I started going to church more, or maybe if I, started eating better, or maybe if I stopped drinking alcohol, or maybe if I, that's the bargaining stage. That's the bargaining stage. And then finally, it's acceptance. That's almost self-explanatory. But you say, you know what? This is my fate. Others before me have had similar fate. And this is my lot in life. And the fact that I know these and I teach these and I help people go through these does not change that I'm a human being and I am subject to these also. And I want to share a very recent and personal story. I won't give details of the names to everyone of the people in the story, but let me quickly tell you. Less than a year ago, about around last November, so coming up on a year, I'm in my office at my regular job. It's about 1:20 in the afternoon, and I get a phone call, and the voice on the other end says, "This is the local police department." They said the name of the town, and this is a recorded line. Now, I wasn't expecting that call, but I'm not in law enforcement. I'm in education, but I work with young children, small children. It's not uncommon for me to hear those words. This is the such and such police department. This is a recorded line. Oftentimes, I initiate calls to local police departments to ask about certain things that maybe something going on in the area that we have to lock our school down for. If there's been, some trouble in the neighborhood, or there's been a bank robbery, or they have someone they're looking for. I will call, and they always say that. Whenever there's a child abuse report made, they always say this is a recorded line. So at that point, my mind is elsewhere. I was working on 2 or 3 other things at the time, and so right now I'm like I'm nowhere. So I'm not thinking anything. And then the woman on the other end of the line said, "We have to come and talk to," and they named one of the staff members. It happens to be a staff member that I'm very close with. It happens to be one of my trusted colleagues, someone who I know this person. I know her family. I know her children. And what they said was, we're coming to talk to this person. We have to give her a death notification. Now, quick as it is even when they just said, we're coming to talk to this person, I thought perhaps that there was trouble at her house. And this is very quickly how your mind thinks. Perhaps her burglar alarm was going off and they couldn't shut it off, or even perhaps someone broke into her house or whatever have you, or something else that I wasn't aware of. And then when they said death notification, then all of a sudden, this has my full attention now. Whatever I was working on before, I don't even know what it was. Now they said death notification. What are you talking about? And then they said the name. They had to come and tell her of this person, and the name they mentioned was her son. And I know her son very well. And so immediately, panic and shock run over me, and I went into denial. Quick as that. I went into denial because I said, how old is he? I was in my mind trying to make it not about her son, perhaps about a brother of hers, which would not have been good, but it would have been preferable to losing her son. Let me just make sure I'm recording this. Okay. I am, as you can tell. Ironically enough, she's a married woman, of course, and I know this. So they gave the boy's name and the last name. Her brothers would not have had that last name because it's her married name. And of course, I'm thinking about this later. But that's how quickly denial happened. It was a matter of seconds, a matter of moments, brief moments, because I went into denial right away. And then I went into, anger. This can't be. And then I went into bargaining. Maybe something's wrong. I didn't know what it might be. And then I had to, the police were on their way to tell her I was not going to let that happen. I was not going to let her hear this news from a stranger. So I went down to get her from where she was working, bring her to my office and sit her down and tell her, the news. She went right into denial, looking back on it, because her son was out of town at college, and it was a local police department. So she goes, that can't be because he's not even here. Why would they be coming to tell me that? Doesn't make any sense. Of course, again, that's part of denial. So a very hard time, a very real struggle, something that we're still contending with as a community, if you will. And by community, I mean my work organization, the network of friends that she, her husband, and the other kids have, our friends, our co-workers, and things such as that. So these are very real things. They actually, they really happen. It happens in real time. It happens quick as can be. And so that's, I want to leave you with that. I'm not going to keep you on here very long. It is our final week, and we got lots to do. But I wanted to share that stages of dying and stages of grief. I like to call it stages of grief. That's me. That's not your PowerPoint. And you've all can probably relate to this on some level. Most of the time when whoever you meet has had, some grief in their life, some close and some distant friends and relatives. So, as you think about that, you can think about the stages of grief that you've gone through in your life. And it's not just about death necessarily. It could be grieving the loss of a marriage, the loss of friends moving away, the loss of children growing up. So it's applicable to many things. So for this week, I'm not going to keep you on here long. For this week, I'm just going to make the keyword, let's see. Should I give a Bible text? Let me think here. Let's go with Matthew 6:22. Let's go with that. Let's go with Matthew 6:22. That'll be our Bible. It's one of my favorites. Let's go with that Bible verse. You can just tell me that Matthew 6:22, or you can look it up, or you can tell me what it is if you know it by heart, and we'll go with that. So I thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure. By the way, I had one question through the message board. Your final project, you don't have to start over. You've been working on your final project since week 1, all the stages of your life. So you're just going to put that all together and submit that for your final project. So you've done 5/6 of it already. So don't feel like you have to go back and rewrite or anything like that. I do hope you hang on to that for yourself to reflect on it. You can change it as you've grown and learned more about different stages. But for me, I'm not going to go back and read everything again as it. Well, I'll go back and read it, but I will not be comparing it to anything else you had. So this is, so you can change something if you want. You're entitled to do that. But ideally, my recommendation to you is just put it all together. Add in this week what you have to add in, and then that'll be that. So that's all you have to worry about that. All right, so quick prayer. Father in heaven, thank you so much for the opportunity to serve in this capacity, to be with these adults and guide them through this course according to your will and through your guidance and your blessings. I pray on each of them, and I pray for their families, that they may continue to feel your presence. I pray that you will guide their steps, and I pray that you will show them the light that they need to walk, and bless them in what they do, that they may fulfill your purpose in their life. I pray this in the precious name of Jesus. Amen. All right, everybody. It's been great. I'll be emailing you, or not, but I'll be writing you in the course room in text, and I will see you soon.